I think it's so interesting in our time at the Maverick House, living together those times. There's almost like that. There's that meme of like the monk and the rock star being best friends. I don't know if you've seen that. I totally feel like I feel like that to a big degree, because even though most people would perceive us and like the lives that we live as kind of drastically polar opposites, there's a lot of just like the inner qualities of having a good time, of being a rebel, of laughing our asses off, but then also having the curiosities of like getting as much as squeezing as much as we want as we possibly can through this fruit of life and getting the most juice out of it, and creating content that is super impactful. And so, man, we've lived a lot of life, and the memories that we've made from documentaries that we filmed to, me filming producing the first 200 episodes of Impulsive, and that whole journey to like, I don't know. I just want to reflect a little bit on the time being at the Maverick House, man, because that is something where we don't realize the chapter of life we're in until we're out of it. And that chapter of life was very unique and very fascinating. And we're on both beautiful chapters now that are equally or more as exciting. But that period of time was fun, man. We were in a very interesting, upgraded fraternity, in Russell Brand's words. He said there's like
he's 100% right.
Yeah, an evolved fraternity, essentially, of young kids having access to all the fame and money and possibilities. And I just think that we learn so much about ourselves and what we want to create in that time frame. So when you reflect back on that time, what do you make of it?
The way that Russell explained it was pretty much right. I mean, you by way of Logan's curiosity and willingness to shed these barriers that anybody would set up for who they live with, I mean, or surround themselves with. Logan has always perplexed me in his pursuit of who he surrounds himself with and who he asks questions to and who he takes advice from. Me and him come from very different schools. I was always taught, and not only taught, but just birthed to believe that you choose or are bestowed generals in your life who you then go to for your issues. And that could be your best friend, it could be your parents, it could be your one or two business partners. But when you have an issue of any kind, you are calling upon your generals for advice. Logan is from a very new school of thinking, which is basically like a crowdsourcing of information, of business advice, legal advice. Like, he just kind of takes what he can get from anybody. Not from anybody, but from anybody. So I think that, and I'm not saying either one is right or wrong. But maybe on the legal side, yes. But on a lot of other stuff, yes, there is a lot that can be garnered from an average, any day person's thoughts about this or that. And as long as you're able to filter it, you can probably get good feedback. But that kind of bled into how he structured the house. And so what we ended up with was this kind of mishmash of a bunch of very strange characters, me being the strangest, of course. But in this setting of this, $6 million house in Hollywood, being led by this rocket ship that was, rocket ship or exploded rocket ship, depending on which time period you're talking about, which was Logan Paul. And, and all the dramas that went along with it. I mean, we clearly, filmed a ton of content in that house, but if there had ever been a documentary or, a follow cam of any kind, I mean, the stories from that house are insane. I've got some of the most insane tales and tribulations of sexual raucousness and just raunchiness and just every interpersonnel issue. And I mean, it was a roller coaster. And core takeaway, I guess, like, it really was one of the biggest lessons, I guess, that I continue to learn in that house was that is so important for anybody to learn in their life if they want to be successful, is that every single person requires a different approach in how you talk to them, voice criticism, partner with them. everybody is so drastically different in what they like. And so anyone who's ever trying to preach to you this one step, one size fits all, or one step process to engaging other humans is a massive mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest things about winning in this world is understanding your audience and understanding the people in the room and understanding your partners and what they want. And there's a piece of that that's empathy, for sure. Like, oh, wow, this person needs a little bit of coddling. This person needs a little bit more positive reinforcement before critique comes.
Yeah, and that's been a big thing also with Logan that you were a lot of times working through in the house is if you want to give feedback to somebody, you don't want to speak to them how you want to speak to them. You want to speak to them how it's going to be effective to actually make real change. And
correct.
So there was like that. There was many different lessons throughout the whole process.
So many.
I mean, dude, just the degree and the spectrum that was covered within all the experiences and, like you said, interpersonal dynamics and content created that happened was truly wild. It was like Spencer, Evan, you, Logan, and I, and we're all living in close proximity. And like you said, a $6 million house or $7 million house in Encino with a private chef and maid and everything kind of taken care of for us. And life really being a blank canvas in terms of what we wanted created. So many beautiful memories, so many cool pieces of content, so many fun things created from that time period. And it was like a fantasy factory. Absolutely. In a way, it was like our own little version of that.
And all like the side characters. I mean, David the German started there, and now he's been an instrumental part of my, success and of my program. Manager Jeff and Chef Katie and Shannon
Danny.
Briggs and Danny, and who's now, married or engaged to be married. And just like, I mean, what a wild time and wild group of people. And I learned a ton and luckily was able to teach a ton in that house. And I mean, bro, that house saw some wild stuff. I mean, saw some explosive fights. I mean, we'll always remember the night in the garage, 2 nights in the garage. One you were there for, with me and Logan. And we've since had a few times like that. The difference now is we know that we'll always come back to each other. That one was a little scary because you guys were like, it almost got physical.
Yeah, it was real bad, and hopefully I did as best as I could to try to mediate the carnage that was coming out from both angles. But ultimately, like, I think the fire, the depth of connection that's forged in the fire of those moments really do. After you stand the test of time, you come out the other side, it makes it that much stronger.